What happened to Kids Info Bits? Julia, what happened? It was one of my favorites.
Well, it hasn't changed all that much, but we're going to go over that. So I'm going to go ahead and get started right away. Thank you so much, Lenny and Lisa and Karina, for already the awesome presentations that we've had. So I am going to ask all of you to join Nearpod, please. It's on the agenda, and I suppose Becky, you could also put it in our chat.
Sure.
The code to everybody join. This is going to be, you guys can actually open this up in a separate tab and join. So that way you can refer to this whenever you feel like it. But I'm going to continue to use the screen in Meet to show you what I'm talking about as the Nearpod moves. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this down. And what happened to Kids Infobits? I don't know how many of you used Infobits, but that's what we're going to find out. I just want to share with you where I've been doing this summer. I've been in Tennessee, actually still am, with my daughter-in-law and my 3 grandsons. So I'm enjoying that very, very much, more than I can say. It's just, it's making this whole COVID-19 thing seem a lot more bearable. And we're just kind of quarantining ourselves to the house. She's got a nice pool in her backyard and a trampoline. And we go on lots of beautiful walks in the Tennessee wilderness, which is absolutely gorgeous. Being from El Paso most of my life, it's so much green, I just don't even know where to look first. It's just amazing. But I just wanted to share that with you before we got started. And what we're going to do is take a quick poll. How many of you use Kids Infobits regularly? Yes or no, quickly. So we'll just give you guys a few minutes to poll that. We have a few no's, we have a few yeses.
Oh, you got to put the poll, Miss Sylvia. You got to put it in the poll in the Nearpod.
Yeah, you have to go into the Nearpod presentation, and you'll be able to answer the poll that I have on the slide. I love using Nearpod because it gets the people involved in the presentation.
Yes.
And so we have most everybody who's answered.
And I love how it gives a little graph. So you can even talk with your kids about graphs. They're that little circle. It tells you, how many.
So if you're still seeing like what the student would see, because right now you're all students of mine, you can actually go back to the Meet and you can see that I'm sharing my screen, which is what I'm seeing that I see. Everybody has answered now because I have 0 under no answer, and that 59% of you said that you have never used it or you don't use it regularly, and 40% say yes, you do use it regularly. And that could be perhaps because we do have middle school and high school librarians as well. And this is one of the databases that TextQuest has for lower leveled students. Okay. So we're going to move right along.
Yes.
So the next thing that I love about Nearpod is that you can also collaborate very clearly. And how have you used it? If you want to just make a quick response, how you've used Kids Infobits in the past, if you've used it at all. Yes, it is an awesome place for research. It doesn't even have to be that long for me to forget how I used things. So.
Oh, definitely.
All right. Very, very good. Oh, I love the pic that you put in. Thank you, Margarita. Right, student choice. Great, Maritza. I love that. It's a wonderful tool that's not too hard. It's very kid friendly, and so you can let the students pretty much Once they've learned it, they can pretty much go for it, have student choice. Okay, so we're going to move right along. And why did they change? I actually watched a video from Gale about why they changed from Kids Infobits. It's now called Gale in Context Elementary. It changed on May 29th. So obviously many of us were deep into helping our schools close out, and we didn't notice the change. It changed based on research that they had done, how many searches were done for this particular thing, how many were done by this particular thing, and user needs and behaviors. So they did a bunch of research on how people were using it and the needs that they saw. They also had a committee of elementary librarians, public librarians, teachers, database gurus, and they had a committee of a bunch of different people who helped them make changes. The changes were also more consistent. So for instance, as the elementary students move to middle school, if they move to high school, it's going to be a more consistent user interface for them as they move up into upper level databases. So it helps them transition better. Nothing has changed on our end. All the URLs still work. All the links are the same. The only thing that they suggested that we change, of course, is our signage. Don't use Kids Infobits anymore because that's not going to be what the kids see when they go there. They would like for us to change it to Gale in Context Elementary. Wherever you might have that posted, whether it be on your webpage or in your libraries, so on and so forth. Okay, so what are our objectives today? I just want to familiarize ourselves with the format. Want to make sure that we understand how certain articles are leveled. The content is actually leveled. We want to understand how to manipulate the settings for listening, because there are listen features. We need to make sure we understand how to translate, of course, how to cite, how to save in your Google Drive, how to save into Google Classroom. And of course, I'd like for you to have some time to practice. So we'll see how far we get. Moving right along. This was the way the old page looked for those of you that used it before or familiar with it from before. And this is the way the new page looks. So it's just kind of give you a quick visual of from the old to the new. So some of our homepage features. We're going to talk about the banner, the toolbar, and the channel bar. So I'm going to now just flip over to my actual website. So this is called their banner up here. You can see how it's changed from Kids Infobits to this Gale in Context Elementary. Then they have their toolbar, which includes the search bar, the advanced search option, a sound on and sound off button, browse topics, title list, search history, get link, and highlights and notes. So this is a brand new feature that they added when they changed from Kids Infobits. This one right here, if you click on it to sound on, anytime the student hovers over something, they're going to hear it read aloud. And you may not hear it, but when you practice, you'll be able to hear it. You may not hear it right now. But as the student will just hover over something, it will actually read it aloud to them. And it doesn't matter whether it's just one word or a whole sentence of words, it will read it aloud to them, as long as you have that sound on in the toolbar. Browse topics is like an index. Looks like all the different topics that they have listed. Becky, am I doing okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Great.
So far, it looks good.
So yeah, when you go to browse topics, it looks just like they're in like an index you would see in any kind of a book. Anytime I want to go back to the home page, you just click the banner. Takes you right back to home. Title list shows you a quick way to get to any of the Gale databases. So if you're middle school, if you are high school, you probably use several of these databases. But it's just a quick way for the student to move directly to that. And you'll notice it opened actually in a new tab. So I'm going to go ahead and close that tab down. Search history just shows the history that you've searched in the past day or so. Get link is something we're going to discuss in just a little while, and highlights and notes, something we'll discuss. So this is the banner, this is the toolbar, and this is what I call the channel bar. But basically because it has your topics, which are these, again, real kid friendly. And again, if they can't read animals, or if they can't tell that that's an animal, then they can hover over that as long as the sound bar is on, and they can hear that that says animals. If they don't know that that says art and music, if they hover over it, it's going to read art and music. Then if you click in this channel bar, if you click on the news, it gives you current things that are happening in the month. Okay, so it gives you current things that have just come out. It also gives you fun facts about the month of June. As soon as June is finished, this will switch to all July facts and July articles that have come out in July. And then of course you can do a search. If you just want to search up some topic in news, you can search from here as well in the search bar. Kids Info Bits always has had wonderful pictures that you can use. And they always have particular ones that they switch out each month, but you can also do a search for a particular kind of picture. And then of course they have the video option, which you can watch short little videos that kind of give you an idea. I watched the energy one with my grandson the other day, and we enjoyed it very much. So that's 3 things that have to do with the home page. So I'm going to continue on. We're also going to look at some more homepage features. We're going to look at the I Wonder feature, the category tree, and then the educator resources. So I'm going to show you the I Wonder is also new. It's something that they've added with the Gale in Context Elementary. This might be for students who are just curious about different things. They're always asking all kinds of questions. So what do geologists study? And if they want to find out, they just click on the Find Out button. It gives them a quick answer, but they can also keep reading. It gives them 3 quick facts about geologists. And then, of course, it brings them into the actual database, which has got book articles, newspaper articles, magazine articles, biographies. It's got pictures and any kind of related topics. So these kind of questions are, I think, great for those kids that are always asking and want to know like tiny little facts. And if you click on the new question button, it is going to take you to all the questions they've posted. They've posted a new question every single day. And so that question will be up for the day. So if the kid just wants to find out a bunch of facts, this is a really cool feature that they have added to Gale in Context Elementary. Then of course the category tree. I'll make sure I use the right verbiage here. This is what they call their category tree. Basically breaks all the topics down into just real broad topics. And so if the kids know they want to do some research about sports, then they might want to click on the sports topic. And once they click on the sports topic, it's going to break it down into even smaller categories. We have athletes, we have sporting events, and sports and games. I'm going to go back to the home screen and show you that some, like for instance, animals, they have even more subcategories. So if they know they want to research sharks, then they're going to be going to fish and sea creatures. Once you click on a subtopic, it's going to give you a quick little bit of information about that particular topic, but then it's going to break it down even further. So if I know I'm going to go to sharks, then I'm clicking over here in sharks. And it's going to give me, again, a quick information. I can keep reading about it, 3 quick facts. And then, of course, it goes into the book articles, the news articles, the magazine articles, pictures, related topics. Back to the home screen. The last thing I want to show you about the home feature is this part right here. And this is a wonderful resource. This is how I actually learned all about the new Gale in Context Elementary, was I went to the educator resources, and I actually clicked on this one right here, the very first one. When you click on this very first one, it opens up in a new tab, and you'll see there are lesson plans, there are scavenger hunts that are already created that you can actually do with your students, or you can view them. This is printable tools that you can print up and hand out if we ever get back to school. And then, of course, they do have these wonderful videos. And this is the one that I watched too, to find out how it had changed from Kids Infobits into Gale in Context Elementary. So there's a lot of wonderful resources here. If you just want the kids to learn how to highlight and note, then here's a quick video that you could show them. All right, back to the Nearpod, because that shows you, oh, and by the way, here's the icons that you can use if you want to use icons in your websites or on your Twitter, anything like that. So you can get the icons right here about the different databases, not just this one, but all of them. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to the home page and flip over to my Nearpod lesson. So I covered everything that's on the home page. So now I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to ask you guys to take a quick matching game. I'd like for you to see if you can remember some of the icon pictures that were on the home page and what they linked to. So if you want to go ahead and quickly, I'll give you a couple of minutes to see how many you can match. Awesome. Good job, Karina. 8 out of 8. Annette, good job. Melissa, good job. Looks like most everybody is getting close to being finished. I'll give you just a few more seconds. I know some students hate it when you flip the Nearpod page before they're finished, because it really gets under their skin. So I don't want to go under anyone's skin here. Great. All right, just to keep things rolling along, I am going to go ahead and take you out of the game and move to the next slide. The next slide I want to talk to you guys about is how all of the articles in Gale, in elementary Gale, is going to be leveled. And so this helps especially when we're helping our teachers individualize or differentiate for different students at different levels. They can actually find articles about the same kind of content, but at different levels. So this just basically shows us how the Gale has symbolized level 1 with 1 green dot, and that's up to 500. So basically that means lower elementary. 2 dots would mean upper elementary. And if you move into 3 dots, we're talking more middle school. 4 dots, high school, and 5 dots, high school and above. And these are all taken from the Lexile Measures, which is a company that measures text and words. And so I found this reading conversion chart, which you'll have access to, because I'll give all of you this Nearpod that you can manipulate however you need. But this is just a reading level chart so that teachers and educators can see like what Lexile level means towards different types of reading levels. So how do we search by content level? That's what I'm going to show you now. There are a couple of ways you can do it. You can either use the search bar in the advanced search section, and you can search by a particular level. Okay. So we're going to look down here where it says documents contain images. You can search for documents that only contain images, or you can look for leveled documents. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and click on that one. And once you have done that, then you can actually search for a particular Lexile level or Lexile measure. This is a drop-down menu, so you can see already. You can look for, I want to find something that's in the 200 to 400 Lexile level. And then I'm going to go ahead and click search. And it's going to bring up all the book articles and the biographies that are in that level. I didn't put a subject in, so it says I can look for 14 different book articles. Or I can do biographies, 2 different biographies. So that is one way to search for leveled works. But another way that I think is even better is the teacher knows that she wants to search something. So let's say they know they want to study about ancient Egypt. So they're going to go ahead and click into ancient Egypt. And they're going to find an article that looks interesting to them. So for instance, let's go ahead and say they want to look at this one here, ancient Egypt. Once you are in the article, oh, let me go back, sorry. Back. Once you have found all the book articles on ancient Egypt, if you click on this little more book articles here, you get filter your results right here. And you can filter by date, you can filter by subjects, you can filter by content level. So this is what I wanted to show you. Now you can filter all of the book articles that they have by a certain level. So I'm going to look for level 1 and I'm going to apply that. And I'm going to see that they only have 1 book article that's good for level 1. So that would be my kinder, first, second grade students. And so I can go ahead and click on that article. And you can see that it's written at a very easier to read level. It doesn't have many sentences at all. And you'll also notice up here that there's a level 2. As an addition to level 1, there's a level 2. Level 2 would be, for instance, a little bit more difficult to read, a few more sentences, obviously, for your upper elementary. And the reason that they can do that normally is because it's Gale-owned content. If we look back at the ancient Egypt here, this one is not Gale-owned, but this one that says Kids Infobit, that means that somebody in Gale wrote that article, and so they have the rights to manipulate it into different reading levels. If you find something here from Britannica, they are also usually different reading levels as well. So over here, you can do the same thing with the news articles. When you click on more, it's going to give you the option to filter out by content level. Now you'll notice that most news articles and most magazine articles won't have anything by Kids Infobits because they're pulled from different sources. And many of them are higher level as well. So we'll go back to our Nearpod. So that showed you your filter. It showed you the advanced search. And then the other filters that were included there, of course, were the publication date, publication title, document type, and search within, that you could filter things for particular things that you're looking for. So now I want to go over the listen feature with you, because once you're in an article, some of the articles that you want the kids to read are really higher level. And so then they're going to need to listen to it. So let's say, for instance, we want to see this one here by CNN. Museums display parody of women in ancient Egypt. When you click on the listen icon, which is this first one, as soon as you have an article open, it's going to start trying to download. Now you may not be able to hear it, but it will automatically start reading the article as soon as it has listened to it. Now, if I want to pause, I'm going to click on the pause button because there are settings that you can set. If you noticed that I had the actual line was highlighted in blue and the words were coming out in green, you can go here and you can change all of the highlight options. You can have no highlighting at all, or you can change the word color to whatever particular color you like. You can change the sentence color to whatever particular color you like. You can even change the text color. Most people leave it in black. But I did want to demonstrate also this other option that you have under the settings in the listen button, which is called enhanced text visibility. Go ahead and turn it on so that you can see what it looks like, how it changes what the student sees when they listen. So you can see it gives you a large text box that opens up, and this particularly is good for our ELL learners. It's good for students who have learning disabilities like dyslexia and other kinds of learning disabilities, because it just makes them focus on the text that is being read at the time, and they can follow along easier with their eyes. All right, show you a couple of the other settings that we have. I'm going to go ahead and turn that back off again. You also can slow the speed down, or you can speed it up. So some of your, especially your ELL readers or readers that have some learning disabilities, they may need to listen to it in a slower speed. So what I'm going to do now is just demonstrate that slower speed so you can get an idea of what that sounds like. It's still down thinking about the whole thing. It does take a moment for it to okay, so that slows down the reading quite a bit. And also, one of the things to remember is that if you change anything in your settings for listening, the next time you open up, it kind of remembers the things that you liked. So it won't change it again. I mean, it'll leave it the way you had it unless you go in and change it again. Automatic scrolling is nice, but I don't like it because sometimes you can't get back up to the top of the article because it's automatically going to keep you scrolling down. So those are basically some of the features in the listen tool, which is really cool. So yes, automatic scrolling, speed, enhanced text visibility, settings for the highlighting. Moving on, we're going to talk about translations and citations. So if I wanted to take this article and I wanted it to be translated into a different language, the translate button is right here. It's this little A with a symbol next to it. And so once I click on it, a drop-down menu will appear where I can find almost any language, really. But Spanish is towards the bottom. And you will need to teach your students how to use this, or teach teachers to teach their students how to use this, because whenever you save something in your Google Classroom, it's always going to save the English version of the article. So we have to train our ELLs and our students that are newly immigrants how to translate that into Spanish if that's what they need. So I want to go ahead and click on translate this into Spanish. Now it says here, it always says that they can't guarantee the translation accuracy. Pretty much it's word by word translation, so it may not be the perfect way that it would be said out loud. But it is going to ask you to preview it. And if you like it, then you have to click on complete translation. So then it completes the translation. Now it will read still this translation, but I can't guarantee, like I said, how well it sounds, or, you know, you'll just have to play around with that and listen to it yourself before you can decide whether you want your ELL or newly immigrated students to translate and then listen as well. The other options that are available in an article is you can make the text smaller. I don't know how many of us really want text to be smaller, but that's an option. Or you can make text larger. You can continue to make it larger and larger until it's more readable. And then the last button here is just an information button, which kind of tells you where the article came from, the date, its length, the length in words, its exact Lexile measure, right? So it just gives you the information about the article. So I'm going to go back to the original language, and I'm going to come back up here to my home page, my Nearpod lesson. Oh, we didn't do citations. Let's go to citations. Once you are in an article, no matter which article you choose to go into, let's read about pigs. We have a library pig in this letter. All right, so we're going to go into this pig article. Once you're here, there are two different ways that you could cite this article. You could use the cite button at the top. If you click on it, it's going to open up a window where you have the option to choose MLA, APA, or Chicago. And you're going to select whichever one you want. Select it like that. Do you see how it highlights it? And then you're going to tell it where you want it to go. If you tell it to go to Google Drive, it's going to open up in a folder there, an orange folder that says Gale in Context Elementary. So that it'll be really easy for you to find, or for your students to find when you teach them to do this. There's one other way that they can cite. Always at the bottom of every article is the source citation. Again, with the same three options, you would select it from here and then tell it to send it to their students' Google Drive. So those are the two things that I wanted to cover on this slide. And so now I have another matching icon picture for you. Game. So you can see, if you remember, some of the icons in the articles and in the toolbars in the articles that you would be using. So go ahead and enjoy playing the game for a couple of minutes. Are there any questions so far?
I've been talking this whole time and nobody heard me. But there's just been some comments about asking if we're going to have text quest next year. And yes, we will have text quest next year. They haven't told me otherwise. I think I just filled out that purchase request last week. So that should still be available to us. And I know I've mentioned to a few people that I want to have a text quest conference, a mini conference just for text quest, because I really feel like some of us may use some of the resources really well and other resources we're not as comfortable with. And so I think it would be really great if we got to be familiar with all of the resources available so that we can really be that resource to our teachers, because we need to make sure that they don't forget that libraries and librarians are around.
Right. And I think that, especially now that most everything we're doing right now is virtual, it would be a great time to, ask the teachers on your campus if you could train them more on how to use certain databases, because they'll really find a lot of this very useful to them. When I show you the next couple of slides, which is how to share this with students virtually.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so I see all of you guys did great.
Yay!
You got it. We're going to move on. Our next slide is going to let you practice now. I'd like for you just to go ahead and use the link that's on the agenda And Becky will put the link again on
Yes.
the chat as
It's
well.
right there in the chat.
And I want you guys just to go ahead and do a little exploring, play around with it, see what you can do. I'm not going to ask you to try to add anything to a Google Classroom yet, or try to save anything to your Google Drive yet, because those are the next couple of slides I'm going to go over. Right now is just a time for you to explore how to get to and from things, in case there's any questions I can answer, and those kind of things. So go ahead, and I'm going to give you guys about 5 minutes to go ahead and take a look at the difference that it's changed and how to manipulate it.
So you're gonna, once you click on the link, you're going to choose, there's a pull down menu and you're gonna choose Isleta. So we're way at the bottom and the password is Isleta. And you can share this with all of your teachers and students. That's how they can access this too.
So you can feel free to unmute yourself if you have a quick question, or if you want to type it in the chat while you're exploring. I especially want you guys to try the sound off and on from the home screen to make sure that you see how to teach teachers and also students that aren't reading yet, to be able to understand what it is they're seeing on the screen.
Julia, it's Patty.
Yes, ma'am.
So the articles come out in Spanish, but can you get those little things to come out in Spanish? The topics, the news, pictures? Do those little icons come out in Spanish?
No.
Or the I wonder question?
No.
Okay.
There's no way to translate those.
You would probably
that's-
have to set it to translate, like your computer itself, your browser.
But where would you, oh, okay, the browser.
Do you see
All
at the
right.
top next to the Google Classroom how it's set right now in English? If you were
Up
to use
there,
that
okay.
drop down, I think you can set it to another language.
Okay. All right,
Let's
because I
take
know
it out.
there's one teacher that will always ask me that.
Mhm.
So I'm always ready for her.
And
Well, let's
yeah,
try it. I'm going to go ahead and click on Espanol and see what happens. Yep, everything changed to Spanish.
ooh, it kind of froze for a bit. So
So where did you do that again? Let me see.
up at the top right there, at the top where it says,
Oh,
Right,
I
it
see.
says
right next to where
English.
the Google Classroom
Yes, I
icon
found it.
is.
Thank
But
you.
the under questions are still in English. And so
Okay.
are the topics. The only thing that changed was the stuff in the channel bar
Right. Okay.
and the stuff in the toolbar. So some help, yes, but not 100%.
Well, they can look at the icon to
Yes.
figure out what the topic is. All right. Thank you.
No problem. So I'll just give you about another minute or two to do a little exploring. Unless you guys all start typing in the chat that you're finished exploring, we'll move on.
Ooh, somebody said
Yes.
they love all the adjustments to the audio files.
Yes, I love that too. I especially like the enhancement when the text comes in the big box,
That's
the text
really
enhancement box.
that's really helpful for your young readers, you know.
Mm-hmm. And
And
that you can
even
slow
somebody
it way down.
and that could also help somebody who's visually impaired that maybe they can see some, but they because it like blows it up for them, right?
How do you reach the adjustment? Okay, if you are in an article, let me go back into an article about armadillos because that's a Texas animal. Once you're in the article and you've clicked on the listen button, I'm just going to go ahead and pause it right away so it doesn't start reading. But this little wheel right here, it's kind of
It's like a gear.
yeah, it looks like a gear wheel. That's your settings wheel, and once you click on the settings wheel, you're going to get the options to change the highlighting, the enhanced text visibility, which is the box. Here's the speed. And like I said, I don't usually use either the automatic or the pop-up button. I usually leave those off. Did that answer your question?
I don't see just that they really like the text adjustments also.
Hey, Julia, I can't get mine to change into Spanish. I don't know. I know you showed us twice, but when I tried it, it just
Okay.
didn't work.
Okay, so the article itself, you mean?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so you have the article open. I'm not sure what article you're looking at, but the button that says translate, and then do you get the drop down menu that you can choose a language?
Okay. But what I was clicking was the wrong one. I was clicking the one up at the top, right next to the Google Classroom. So
Oh.
what
Yeah,
is
that one.
Go ahead.
That one we were just going over with Patty. Kind of changes some of the channel
The menus.
boxes, yes, for the whole entire site, but not just for the particular article.
Okay, I got it. Thank you so much.
No problem. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and ask, even if you haven't finished searching around as much as you'd like to, if you'll just come back to the Meet. because we are going to now look into how we can either save the articles or send the articles to our Google Classroom, which is really important, especially right now that we're doing so much stuff virtually. This is one of the most important parts of the training. So I'm a third grade teacher or a fourth grade teacher, and I know that we're studying Texas symbols. Like I'm going to study this armadillo. Notice that I've got the two different levels here that I could assign certain students level 2, depending on their reading level, or level 3, based on what it is that I want them to do. But how am I going to do that? So I've listed 3 ways that you can share it. You can use the get link icon, you can use the send to icon, or you can use your Google Classroom. So I'm going to show you all 3 ways, and then I'm going to let you guys practice all 3 ways. So the first one I'm going to show you is the send to, because it's the first one in the toolbar. Do you see the little airplane icon? If you click on the airplane icon, it's going to ask you, where would you like to send it to? Well, in Isleta, we use Google Drive. Some of you may or may not use the OneDrive, but so I'm going to always select Google Drive, and it's automatically going to take it into, you're going to choose your Google account, of course. So I'm going to choose my Isleta account, and it'll tell me a message that says your documents have been sent to Google Drive and they will appear shortly. So now I want to show you where to find those if you're in your Google Drive. So I'm going to go to my Google Drive. And this also goes for the citations. It goes in the same place. So if I'm in my drive, you'll see there a folder, and that they made it a different color. It's an orange folder, Gale in Context Elementary. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, open that folder up, and you can see all the things that I've ever sent myself from the Gale databases in elementary. There's the armadillo article that I was just talking about. Here's another one I was practicing with last week. Here's the citations that I've sent myself. So there's everything you send yourself from Gale in Context Elementary will end up in this particular folder in your My Drive, Gale in Context Elementary. So that's one way you can do it. The second way what I'm going to talk about is the get link way, which is right here. This particular icon symbol picture in your toolbar says get link. So if you click on that, it gives you the exact URL address that you can put into a PowerPoint. You could put it in Nearpod. You could put it on your website. And you could also put it in your Google Classroom if you wanted to. But this is just the exact link to this particular article. And so again, you would just select it. Once it's highlighted, you still need to Command C or right click C. You still need to copy that article, that link. So I just do my Command C, and then let's say I'm going to open up I'm going to open up a Word document. And once I have that document open, I can just paste that link there. And this can be in a PowerPoint or an email or wherever you'd like to send it. Once you have made that link active, then once I click on it, it's going to open up another tab that's going to take me directly to that article. Okay, so that's the 2 ways that you can do it to from the toolbar, send to, get link. And then the last way I want to show you, and let me make sure I'm not doing it from the wrong place. Close that link down. That's the window I opened. All right, so we're back here. I want to send it to my Google Classroom. because I'm a 4th grade teacher and I want my students to learn about armadillos. So I'm going to click on the Google Classroom icon, which is right up here in the top. Once you've clicked on that, it's going to ask you which classroom do you want to send it to. Since I'm using my daughter's computer, make sure I'm in my classrooms. All right. So I have several classrooms that I was a part of this past year, but for these purposes, I'm just going to use my GT classroom. I know no one's monitoring that right now. And once I've chosen a classroom, then I need to choose an action. This is kind of important. I usually always make it a material. If you choose an assignment or a question, and you put it into a classroom that belongs to the teacher is going to always say that that student is missing an assignment or missing a question because they haven't turned it in. Well, basically you're not asking them to turn in anything. You just want to share this information with them. So you're going to create a material. So I want to always click create material and click go. Once you've clicked go, you're going to notice, those of you that have used Google Classroom before, that you are exactly in the area that you would be if you were in a classroom, creating the title, creating the description. So I'm going to call it Armadillo. And I'm going to ask the students to read it. Please read. Over here, I can now, if I'm a librarian and I have access to all my teachers' classrooms because they've made me a co-teacher, I can actually click this drop-down menu and I can choose other classes that I want it to go in as well. So that way I don't have to go into each individual teacher's classroom and do it one at a time, because that can be very time consuming, take a long time. This way I can just choose some other classrooms that I'm a co-teacher for, and I can make it happen to everybody all at the same time. Now, if you choose several classrooms, then you're going to have all the students that are in all those classrooms. But if I'm just doing my own classroom, like I'm a teacher in 4th grade, and I only want this particular article to be read by certain students, then I'm going to come in and check just the students that I want to read it. Just the ones that I want it to be sent to. And it's only going to be sent to their classroom. They'll only be the ones that are going to have access to it. And then, since I am the librarian, I have created a topic in almost all of my teachers' classrooms called library, or you could call it Mrs. Gruber, whatever you want to title it. And a lot of times then I will direct it straight into that particular topic. So that way it's not just posted with all the other teachers' materials, it's posted in a particular folder and the students can find it easily. Once I'm finished with all those little steps, which took me much longer to talk about than it would for me to do, I'm going to click post, and it's going to post it into my GT classroom. If I want to view how it looks, I can click on the view button. It's going to take me into the classroom. I'm going to go ahead and click on my classwork. As soon as my computer decides to stop thinking. Once I click on the classwork, you'll be able to see that this assignment was sent to the folder that I assigned it to. Okay. I don't want to wait. There we go. So if you don't send anything to a folder, it's just all going to end up at the top. But if you do put it in a folder, it's going to be inside your folder. And teachers create lots of different folders. So it's always good for you to have one for just the materials that you're sharing. All right, I'm going to close down this classroom and I'm back at.
And just a little note, I know it's easy to think of things as folders, but I think that it refers to them as topics. So just so you don't get confused.
Yes, topics. It does.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of what I want you to do now. I want you to go ahead and go back into your Gale in Context Elementary. I'd like for you to try using Get a Link, using Send To. And then here are the steps for using, for following into the Google Classroom, the ones that I just went through with you. So you may go ahead and have some time right now to practice your sharing methods, the 3 different sharing methods that I taught you today. Just about 2 minutes, and we're going to run out of time.
I'm looking to see if there's any questions. I know that somebody did ask a question about the translations, if it translated to different languages, grammatically correct, or, like a good, is it a good translation or is it a direct translation? And I replied that it's a direct translation. It doesn't, it's not going to be the best translation in the world, but it's better than not having a translation at all.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And I always told the kids, you know what? It's not going to be the type of Spanish that you speak. There's going to be some new words in there that you might not know. And it's a great opportunity to learn a new word in Spanish.
And it might just be needed for them, to be able to kind of get some of the ideas of the words and what they are.
Sure.
And then they can switch back into the English.
Yes, absolutely. And just to let you all know that you can access all of our Gale resources, all of our actually TextQuest resources, by using the username Isleta or choosing Isleta ISD, and the password is Isleta. So that should work for any of our TextQuest resources. Easy to create new material. Thanks, Julia. That's from Maritza. And another thing, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say that I know my time is just about up, but the last couple of slides that I had in my Nearpod presentation was just support that you can get from Gale. I did actually have to call because some of the things that I watched in the video weren't working for me. So I had to call and speak to a technician he helped me figure it out. So they're very, very helpful. There's a lot of wonderful videos that you can watch to help that I showed you on the teacher resource page. But there is a slide here that's got some direct ways for you to get to those helpful things that they offer. And then I was just going to end up with a little library humor. If you're on your Nearpod.
All the math books in the horror section. That's so funny.
Yeah.
They are sometimes horrifying when they get to a certain level.
Definitely. My son became a mechanical engineer, Brian, my oldest.
Wow.
And his math, it was like reading a foreign language. I didn't even know what he was doing. I had no idea whatsoever.
Yep. I'm sure.
So if the last slide shows my contact information. We're not going to be able to have time for the collaborate board, but that's okay.
Okay.
If you guys need to ask me further questions, please feel free to email me. I'll be glad to answer if I can.
Yes. And there's always the chat. You can always, type in your question there. That way you can, and I'm sure, Julia will email back if you send her a question. A lot of thank yous, useful information, great presentation, Julia. Awesome job. Thank you. Thank you. Lots of great stuff. And I do want to point out that a lot of, and then somebody was saying you can print bookmarks and posters from the Educator resource
Yes, you
in
can.
Gale. Yes, there's a
Yes,
lot
they
of
have a lot
great
of print.
resources.
They have a lot of
that's
print
awesome.
resources there. Mhm.
Yes. But one other thing I just wanted to mention is that a lot of the way that this database works is the way most Gale databases work. And I think
Yes.
Julia might have mentioned it earlier in her presentation that Gale has tried to be uniform about how their databases are working. So if you
Right.
can do it in, the elementary part here, you can do it in anything else that says Gale. So it's pretty
Right.
much.
And that was some of their reasoning behind some of the changes they made so that it would be an easier transition from one level to another level to, one database to another database, so on and so forth.
Well, thank you so much, Julia, for all of this
problem.
great information. You did an awesome job, like all of our other presenters. We have